I'm Justin Hendrix. I want to welcome you to NYU today. How's everybody doing? Doing all right? Okay, good. Some happy people. I want to welcome you to Exploring Future Reality. This is the fourth year we've done this event. How many of you have been to it in past? A few of you? How many of you have been to it all 4 years? Is there a few out there? All right, there's a few out there who have been here. We started with about 90 folks that gathered in a little space in downtown Manhattan in 2015. Today there are over 600 people that are registered that will participate in the day. So we're very excited about that. And this is the second year that we've done it here at NYU Kimmel. And the name, let me just pause for just a moment on the name of this thing. We got this idea of future reality from Ken Perlin. A few of you know Ken. He is a professor here at NYU in computer science, really a sort of legendary computer graphics researcher. Came up with a thing called Perlin noise, which will be known to many of the folks here who deal in computer graphics. But he wrote a blog post all the way back then in 2015 about what should we call this world of human-computer interaction, this next revolution in human-computer interaction. He talked about the sort of unsatisfactory nomenclature, how we've got AR and VR, MR, XR, et cetera, et cetera. Perhaps we'll just carry on adding letters to the R for another decade. He sort of said, if you really think about it, what we're talking about is future reality. What we're talking about is the world and future that we imagine where digital media, digital experiences are blended with the real world, where we are able to engage with information that is around us, that is in our field of view, and that is available to us via other means as well. So we took that phrase from him, and so this event, Exploring Future Reality, is meant to look at that. Primarily we'll talk about AR and VR today, but you'll see in the course of the morning that we'll talk about a variety of other technologies. But generally that's the theme. It's how do we think about making information available to us for every purpose we can imagine, for connecting with one another, connecting with computers and machines, connecting with entertainment, connecting with services, companies, government, all of the rest of that. So hopefully that broad phrase, future reality, will mean something to you at the end of the day, if it doesn't already. So I run NYC Media Lab. I also run a new thing called the R Lab. You're going to hear a lot about that today. How many of you are familiar with the R Lab or heard of it? Okay, so a good number of you. Hopefully by the end of this morning you'll know a bit more about it. You'll have some sense of it. The Media Lab itself is a consortium of universities here in New York that was started by the New York City Economic Development Corporation with the goal of driving emerging media technology innovation in New York by working between the universities here and the industry here in New York City. So we've built a consortium that includes Columbia, NYU, the New School, School of Visual Arts, the Pratt Institute, CUNY, et cetera. And what we're trying to do is essentially create connections between industry partners, entrepreneurs, investors, the rest here in New York to try to drive technology innovation. So I do want to thank our corporate members. Many of them are here in the room this morning. They make the Media Lab possible. They range from companies like Publicis and Hearst on through to mobile operators like Verizon. And we're very grateful to them for all their support. Very grateful to all the executives from those companies that give us their time each year. They don't just commission projects with the universities, which is a large part of what we do, a lot of prototyping projects, seed projects, that sort of thing. They also mentor. They help the teams that we work with, the entrepreneur teams that come out of the university campuses. You're going to hear from 10 of those teams this morning who are going to give you flash presentations about projects they're doing in AR and VR. But they also participate in events like this and help us to create, hopefully, a robust environment here in New York. A couple of quick housekeeping items. Anybody on the Wi-Fi yet? If you're not, now's the moment. Take out your camera. I think this is also in the program. But you can connect to the NYU guest account, use the username guest130, and the password, which I think is gibberish, but looks like some exotic sushi, is oikunso. Everybody got that? Good. So we're thankful to NYU for hosting us here today at the Kimmel Center. You'll be around lots of NYU students as well as students and faculty from the various universities here. This morning, we're mostly in here. We're going to be in this room having discussion, presentations on through to lunchtime. So you look forward to a couple of panels, several lightning pitches, some addresses from folks that work with me. And then a little later in the afternoon, really excited about 10 workshops that are going to take place upstairs, downstairs, as well as demos that are happening in the Rosenthal Pavilion, which is up on the 10th floor. So really, that activity unfolds from 1 to 6 p.m. The Demo Expo is open from 1 to 6. That's also where the food will be. So if you are interested in having a bite at around lunchtime, that's where it'll be. The workshops, 2 sessions, 2 to 3, 3:30 to 4, 5 and 5, I believe, is how that's split. How many of you registered for a workshop? Okay, good number of you. If you haven't, it's not too late. Go to the website, futurereality.nycmedialab.org, workshop/registration. If you don't get round to it, I'm sure you can wander around the building and find one that's open. But it's always good to know that you are not maxed out. Some of them are very popular. All of them are popular, but some of them are very popular. So I would recommend that you take a look there, find something that works for you. I'm really grateful to all the folks who are participating in the workshops. There are technologists and artists and media folks from companies, HTC and Adobe, for instance, just a real wide range. So please check those out. Please take advantage of those. If you are a student here and you are interested in a project we are doing with A+E Networks on multi-user augmented reality and geolocation, there is an information session in room 909 at 3:30 p.m. Again, if you are a student at one of the universities we work with, love to have you participate in that information session and find out about that opportunity to engage with A+E Networks on AR in the new year. And then this evening, we hope that you'll be able to stick around as long as possible. There'll be a cocktail between 4:30 and 6. That's also on the 10th floor. There'll be demos ongoing at that time, so it's a good opportunity. If you haven't yet lost your balance from the virtual reality, you can perhaps lose one from the cocktail. I hope it doesn't come to that. But please join us there. So what we're going to try to do today is really think about human-computer interaction, really think about the implications of these technologies. We like to say that we're really kind of about to enter a new decade in media transformation. 2020 is almost on us. We're in this third decade now. It started with the PC and, of course, the advent of the web. Then mobile came along, really changed everything. But now we believe something different is happening. There is a new range of technologies that are coming along that will change the way we interact with one another, change the way we interact with information, entertainment, etc. And I think what this graph tries to show is that a lot of value is created and a lot of value is destroyed at each of these transitions. A lot changes in society. There have been, just in the last week, we've seen executives from Facebook hauled in front of 9 parliaments for the implications of some of the technologies they've developed. We've seen lots of concern lately about the right relationship between big tech and society. We've seen the economics of the media industry completely change. We've seen that have an impact then on labor, on jobs, on New York City. So there's a lot going on here. And I think what we want to do is try to think about the implications, the opportunity, also more broadly, the implications for society. So hopefully today you'll get a sense both of the technology opportunity, the market opportunity, the economic opportunity, but also some of the questions that we have to ask about the implications of these technologies. And I think that's very important and a very important part of what we try to do at the Media Lab and what we try to do in the university context. 2 big themes that we follow. One is that media is data, this idea that all information is reduced now to ones and zeros. We've got computers that have learned to talk, learned to watch video, learned to extract information. I'm speaking very broadly. But generally, that has broad sort of implications for media. You're going to see some examples of that, including from a company, Live CGI, this morning. This sort of synthetic media trend, very important. And then this one about media moving off of screens. Most of the innovation we've seen over the last couple of decades has been 2-dimensional. It's been screen-based. But we believe now that these new interfaces, whether it's voice, projection, AR, VR, neural interfaces, the rest of it, anything that you might put in that bucket is what's going to drive this next realm. That's going to change user behavior. We're going to see some strange things happening. I think if you had gone back in time 10 years ago and you had told everyone that they would walk on to the subway and see everyone staring at a pane of glass and not paying attention to one another, they would have thought that was odd. But we think some stranger things are yet to come. That's going to change the economics of almost every sector in the economy, certainly in New York City. And so we hope to get into some of that as well today. So it's time for experimentation. And we like to think of us as a sort of a community building entity. It's what we try to do at the Media Lab. And so I'm very keen that all of you think of yourselves as a community of practice. We're doing this together. We're trying to think through the implications of these technologies, create opportunities for one another, and hopefully drive society in a positive direction. So to that point, I do this at every Media Lab event, and I won't miss it today. I'd love for you all, if you're able, please stand and introduce yourself to someone that you don't already know. We're going to take 1 minute for this exercise.